Hello,
Well,
everybody. Oh, we're both
yeah,
starting.
there you go. How eager are we, right? Go ahead,
Right,
Jody.
exactly. Welcome to another episode of Smooth Move from your dependable partner, where we help people move from their home, downsizing to a community, and make it all smooth. We do the packing, the unpacking, and the full setup. Today, our guest is, I don't want to mess up your last name, Tersee Nande. Did I say that last name correctly?
Perfect. Yeah,
Great. Okay, because people always mess up my name. He is from The Key, which is a home care company, and he's going to tell us all about what he does. So why don't you start, Tercy, if you don't mind, with what your role is and how you got into the business.
sure. So my name is Tersee Nande, and I'm the home care liaison with the Key. I've been with the Key now for a little bit over a year. Got into the role just last April, and for essentially over 20 years, the Key has helped to support seniors and families with long-term care at home and helping older adults to really create this joy and purpose, and essentially age gracefully from the comfort of their home. Ultimately, we look to support their independence with any sort of caregiving that we do provide to them. We aim to really be a trusted source for long-term care and also that resource within the community with any sort of healthcare and senior care. And so we do look to go above and beyond in how we work with families and essentially our partnership with families. And we want to also give, that sense of peace of mind when we're working with, loved ones who may have family that are in close proximity, or even if they're going about their day to day and we're in their homes supporting their loved ones. We do provide non-medical as well as concierge nursing, and we can support really any sort of individuals virtually with things like acute conditions, a lot of decline in cognitive health. So we do have dementia support, personal care, really anything that involves day-to-day activities. So if you're someone who needs assistance with, running errands or doctor's appointments, potentially if you're a fall risk, maybe you're a little bit more frail, and then any other sort of complex and higher care needs. And essentially, I got into the role myself because of, my own personal experience with, my parents' father's age, also declining, and really didn't know much about home care until I got into the position. And
Yeah,
so, being able to provide a type of support for family members of my own, really hit home and, really made me appreciate not only how much those caregivers do, they're like the front line,
yeah,
but also understanding, what goes into the family members who are also involved with someone who may have a decline, because it also takes a toll on them as well. And
I
You
was
know,
just
so,
gonna,
Tersey,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, for all our viewers and listeners, we had the opportunity to, let's be transparent. We had the opportunity to sit with Tersey and really understand his story. And one of the things that's very common throughout all of these interviews we do, and it's true of Joel, and it's true of me, and it's true of Tersey, you can't fake caring. Okay. You can't fake it. And if you live it, I've lived it. I've lived it with both of my parents. Joelle is living it with her parents. Tersey has a story that, candidly, Tersey, you're being much too modest about. Your information is excellent, but you need to tell your story, because when you tell your story, and I'm not going to blow it and give hints, but when you tell your story, that compassion comes through. And, this is a very stressful industry in general. When
mhm.
we're dealing with seniors and we're dealing with aging and we're dealing with, I mean, let's just say the word, you're dealing with aging and then eventually death, unfortunately, and all the different components of that and how it happens. And it's emotional. It's emotional for the person. It's emotional for everyone around them. So Tersey, tell me why you care. because your story is a phenomenal one. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it really does strike a chord with me, because of, me growing up in a situation, from a community in which, was raised by a single father. And, my mother lived in Nigeria. And so for many years, I really had to grow up through the Boys and Girls Club, and really tapping into a lot of resources in, um, building relationships within the Boys and Girls Club that was able to put me on a trajectory of getting into a better high school, and eventually getting into a good school for higher education, and getting a scholarship to play football, and taking a lot of the burden off of, my family. And so really appreciating the value of relationships is what got me into a passion for, helping others who may have come from similar conditions, and the importance of, maintaining those relationships, and having access to resources and education about resources that you may have never had due to relationships. And so I feel that that's just something that translated so easily into what I wanted to ultimately do, as I went through school and college and graduated, and just again wanted to accept a role at the Key, because, not only did I live, that example and experience, but also I still live it today, in terms of, everything that I do is about relationships and helping others and creating joy. And even with my own personal philosophy of, this sense of whole person, right? So even how we provide care to our clients, via focusing on like nutrition, and having a sense of calm, and staying engaged, and being involved in community, and sleeping well. These are all important components that people, must have as a whole person in order to, live our optimal life and have joy and be able to do, the things that we love to do. And so again, it really does sync very well from my personal life into my professional life. And really, sometimes I feel like there is no breakage. I feel like what I do in work is just me doing what I do every single day. And so again,
It's who you are.
Brian, that gives you an
Right.
idea of why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, it's who you are. They say it took a village, right? Takes a village. It took a village
Exactly.
for you.
Yeah.
Takes a village for a senior, to live with that joy. I mean, that's such a great word,
I
Tersee.
was just going to say, I love that he
Yeah.
said that because, even though the pandemic is over, I think that really created even more isolation for people. And
Yes.
it's just getting back into that, not being isolated, get out there because it really helps your longevity, it helps your mental acuity,
Hmm.
so many things that it's beneficial for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always talk about the fact that, right, if we're working with older adults and they don't have, any surviving family members, or, the sense of detachment, and, you start to fall into these vulnerable states of, potential depression,
Yeah,
on the onset of disease, and through all of those snowball effects, it starts to progress, decline in cognitive ability, and break the breakdown of your body, because you're not active, you're not doing things that you used to do. And so it's really important to emphasize again to, family members and who we work with, the importance of, what you just mentioned, Joel, in staying attached, and, finding a reason to want to get up every single day, whether you make a new friend and you can connect and share memories and be excited about, even storytelling. That's one of the things we love to do at the Key when we work with clients, is we like to emphasize, this culture of tell your story, appreciate your past. People want to get to know you. You have a lot of, really valuable experiences that, others will appreciate and can learn from. And, that's something that we share and we do with our memory care program. And I know the seniors we work with absolutely come to life. I hear things that I never knew about them, and their neighbors as well. They hear things that they're like, wow, I've been living in this community with this person, and all of a sudden I just learned all of these cool, new information about
Right.
you, and now I've got a new friend, and now we have a new hobby we can share together. And so, again, giving them that purpose to get up every single day despite their situation, I think is always extremely beneficial.
So you talked about in-home care, which I know that's your, I guess, your core business, but you also go into like independent and dependent care communities, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So if somebody were moving from their home to independent care because maybe their home was more than they could manage, or they need more of a social environment, but let's say they need, I don't know, one of your services, you can tell me which one might apply, then they can hire you for that little gap.
Yes, absolutely. So, it would what I normally would try to do when we're working with clients is to uncover everything that is needed, within their transition. And so, for instance, that's where you all may come in as a valuable partner of, working with the key. If we're looking at someone who may be looking to transition from living solely independent, maybe from a condo or something like that, to now moving into a senior living care center because maybe their family feels it's gotten to that time.
Mhm.
They're not locally based, and they just feel a little bit more at ease, and again, sort of that peace of mind for them to be in a situation where they're in close proximity to others, and they're able to stay engaged.
Right.
And so that's where I'm able to sort of uncover some of these other additional resources that they may need, whether it's someone help them move and help them transport their belongings, or perhaps they're looking for other valuable access or, resources such as someone to manage, doctor's appointments now that they're going to be in a senior living community, or manage maybe the therapy that they could potentially need, physical therapy. And we try to coordinate all of that for them.
It's amazing. Do you have a success story that you want to share with us? If you don't, it's
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I
um,
I always think it's nice to
yeah,
have a specific story because I think that, you know, highlights all of the wonderful things you do.
yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite success stories is, working with a family that, we had a client that was medevac from their cruise, and um, unfortunately, he was taken to Cleveland Clinic Hospital,
Mhm.
and all of his family flew in. A lot of the family lived, out west, and essentially they were here basically by themselves, and you know, really fell into a really dark place in terms of what happened. They had certain hobbies that they're looking forward to that they may not be able to do anymore because of their condition. And of course, as they're in the hospital, we had a chance to visit them. A lot of folks from my team, from my client success manager to my general manager, myself, we spent several hours, really sitting at the hospital with this patient. And before they became our client, really got to know them. And one of the things that instantly occurred was, as I mentioned before, was sort of the state of depression, feeling detached, of course, being in the hospital bed. Um, and I remember, when we were doing the assessment, and the family members started to come into the room, and just it was very hard to get this patient to speak and talk because they were just, feeling very down about what had happened. Um, and all of a sudden, and I forget exactly how the question came up, but we started talking about um, Disney World. And, I think I was talking about a
Place on
trip.
earth.
Yeah, I think I was talking about a trip that I was getting ready to go to, upcoming. And all of a sudden, that patient goes, "Hey, do you know that I created one of the original Disney cartoon characters before the park actually opened?"
That's
So they did
amazing.
a really cool sketch, and so hops up out of bed and asks the family member to get their phone and show the pictures. And so it was interesting because I go, I always wanted to be an artist, or at least I thought I did, when I went to school. Unfortunately, once I started playing football and things like that, I kind of, lost my way with that. But, they just absolutely came to life wanting to show us these illustrations that they made. And that led from one conversation into this is, I was this vibrant person that used to like to dance and I played instruments, and all of a sudden we're going through an entire album in their phone of pictures and images and dates that that person went on with their significant other, and all of these really cool pictures and artwork. And this person was like a 180, did a complete 180. Like, you cannot believe, for several days, this was someone that would not say a word, barely would not say a word. And essentially that led to them feeling very much comfortable with the key. As I mentioned, they met my general manager, they met my client success manager. We really got to know them. We took our time to really, show an invested amount of, patience. And we were able to, provide service for them. And the family felt very comfortable. The patient was very happy with the caregiver because, again, we translated, a lot of what we learned from that client to do a matchmaking process to make sure that we found the right caregiver. And that just transitioned. And so there was awesome companionship between the caregiver.
Let me stop you for a second, because this
Yes.
shouldn't get passed over. Did you hear what he just said? He's not calling anyone who's available to take care of that person.
Right.
Okay, which unfortunately, many companies do that. Who's up next? Who's available? But you're matching. I'm sorry to cut you off, Tersee, but
No
it's that
worries.
important. It's that important
Yeah.
that you hear the level of care, matching the person to the caregiver. Well, that's a big separating statement. That
Yeah.
separates you from many in-home care companies, because, as McDonald's would say, that's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. You
Yeah.
can't fake the caring that you did in the hospital, right? Can't fake that. You're either genuine and they see it, which you are, but that secret sauce of matching that personality, because everybody's personality is different. My mother-in-law, she should rest in peace. She threw 3 different aides out of the house
Oh,
and then
wow.
told the company, "Don't come back anymore. I don't need you." Well, she did, but they didn't take the time to see the match. They just picked whoever was up next and whoever had the time and was available. And sometimes it's not always the same caregiver. One day it's somebody one day and somebody else the next day and third person the third day. Wow.
Yeah.
So sorry. Didn't mean
No worries,
to.
Brian. And you emphasized a great point, and I'm glad you did you catch that, because part of what makes what we do so important is we're coming into the lives of the individuals we help. And so we don't want to seem as if we're somehow causing an inconvenience or we're impeding on their lifestyle. We want to come in and, as I mentioned before, partner with the family. So we're there to serve them. And so in finding out important details such as hobbies and likes and dislikes and all of those things, allows for us to, again, translate, that initial relationship that I start to establish, because I am the first person that they usually will meet and speak with. I'm a representative of my organization and all that we stand for, from myself to our client success manager to our caregivers. And so we like to think of our services as a full team approach. And so you should feel that from the time you meet with me to my general manager to the client success manager to the type of caregiver that we match to you. It's going to be very seamless. And I think our clients usually can vouch and say that they really have seen it in their experiences.
Well, it certainly shines through in you and what you say and your joy for what you do. It's wonderful. And I'm going to say that Tersee and I met in a networking event, and I could just spot him from this crowded room, this just like light coming out of him, that he was the person I needed to talk to at that event. And I'm so glad that we did, because you provide such a great service, and I look forward to working together.
Yeah, and likewise, right? Is I felt like there was just instant synergy there when I met you as well. And I'm so excited that you introduced me to Brian as well. And very, very awesome what you all do. I just never thought that I would come across an organization that actually did went above and beyond what you all do, not just helping them move, but even essentially selling their property if they need to get that taken care of, having the ability to even auction off items that they no longer want and help them use those funds right towards putting it back in their pocket if they need essential more long-term care to take on other expenses. So that's really important again because those are small but really big burdens that sometimes can affect seniors, especially in their state. And so I think the more help that they can get, I think it only leads to them being able to just really live out their lives to the most optimal sense. So it's really really excited to work with you all and learn more about what you do and work together to serve these seniors that we all are in contact with.
Great.
So, Tersee, how does someone get hold of you? What is your phone number, website, blood type, all of it?
Firstborn. No. Yeah, no. So yeah, absolutely. So anyone who wants to get in touch with me can always reach out to me on my direct cell phone, 645-201-4654. You can also send me an email if you'd like, if that's easier, at Tersee, Tersee .nande, Nande, at thekey.com. I primarily work in the Broward area, but I do have a colleague that is up in the West Palm, on the west side of the state, all the way down to Miami as well. So again, we're able to duplicate anything that I'm doing is going to be again just as consistent and of high quality in any area of Florida. So again, looking forward to having conversations and connecting with more folks who are looking to sort of have a resource or some sort of knowledge and access to certain resources that they otherwise may not know that it even exists.
Mhm. Brian, you want to take us out?
All right. So you have it. One more time, Tersee. Give me that phone number one more time.
Yes, you can contact me at 645-201-4654.
Okay, and we're yourdependablepartner.com. This is the Smooth Move podcast. You can reach us at yourdependablepartner.com, and we'll make sure that from the very beginning, you have a very smooth move, packing, decluttering, if you need to sell your property, auctioning, as you said. We really do everything soup to nuts because you've got other things on your plate as a family member or the senior themselves. And we will take care of making sure you get there. You have a good night's sleep that first night in your own bed with everything unpacked and put away. And so you can call us or actually, the easiest thing to do is visit us, yourdependablepartner.com. I thank you. If you like this segment, please hit the subscribe button. Feel free to share it, and we'll be back again next week with another Smooth Move podcast. Thank you.